Hi guys, and welcome back to another video game with powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video I'll be giving you guys my first impressions and thoughts on the board game Wondrous Creatures, coming to you from Bad Comet Games. Now, this is a 1 to 4 player game, I believe. Let me actually get the box here to give you the exact numbers. 1 to 4 player game, ages 14 plus, around 40 to 80 minutes per player. Look, as you guys are aware, we do have an abundance of games that we have unboxed that we really haven't got content out yet on our channel in terms of playthroughs and reviews and things like that. And we have a lot more games on the way, and I got a stack of about 4 boxes over here right now of games. And so I was trying to think, what are ways that I can not so much get quick content out for the game itself, but kind of give all of you my thoughts and opinions on this game. Because, as I'm sure a hot topic button in our community lately has been reviews. How many times should you play a game before you review it? And I would just like all of you guys to know, I play a game about 4 to 6 times before I go ahead and put one of our reviews out for the game itself. So there is a lot of games that I have not been able to get to the table a number of times, and that's why there's been such a long delay in some of these reviews of games that we have put out on the channel. So I kind of thought to myself, what'd be a good way to still get content out for some of these games and give my thoughts and opinions? And I thought, why not? Since majority of these games that we do unbox, I get to the table right away at least once or twice. Let me give you guys my first impressions of this game. This is going to be completely raw. This is going to be completely unfiltered. I'm going to tell you the good. I'm going to tell you the bad. I'm going to give it to you guys straight on getting this game to the table once or twice. What are my first impressions? So like I said, the game we have here today is going to be Wondrous Creatures. This is the Kickstarter edition of the game with the upgraded components and the Gargantuan Beast expansion. So I think what I'm going to do is let's jump down to the table. I'm going to give you guys a quick overview of how the game works and how it plays, and then I'll just dive right in and talk about some of my first impressions. All right, guys, so we are down here at the table where we would have something set up for a playthrough of Wondrous Creatures. So the overall premise of the game is you are trying to collect the most victory points, and there are many ways to collect victory points in Wondrous Creatures, but pretty much the main way you are going to be collecting victory points is by completing these achievements or objectives. They are classified as achievements in this game, and you also have a victory point track where you will be collecting victory points along the way. The way the game is actually going to end is you see some of these trophies here. There will be 10 total trophies. I just have 5 out. Once all 10 trophies are claimed, that will trigger the end of the game, where everybody will get an equal amount of turns, and then the game will go straight to scoring. There are multiple ways to gain trophies. The main way to gain trophies is by completing these different objectives. Every time you complete one, you will gain a trophy. And then there are 2 spots on the board here at the 30 track and 50 track for you to claim trophies as well. Now, how do you go about getting these objectives right here? How do you go about completing these objectives, I should say? Well, each player is going to have a stack of 3 workers here. All right, the cute little creatures. These are bee creatures. And what you're going to do is essentially be placing these workers out onto the board, and you will be collecting resources. You will have a player board right here, so you will be collecting different resources. You'll be collecting other creatures from the wild. You'll be playing these wilds into a tableau, and then all of those different creatures and things that you collect are going to help you complete these different achievements. So, for example, if you were to take a look at this achievement, this is specifically the number of birds that you have in your tableau. So if you have 6, you can claim this achievement, which is worth 12 points. If you only have 3, you can claim this achievement. Now, only one player, you can only claim these bonuses one time. So if you claim the 6, you cannot do the 3, or vice versa, right? But those are the different ways. The achievements on the bottom are always going to pertain to the type of creature or habitat of creature. Some will have double. So this is any combination of fish or insects. 8 or 5 will get you that. And then you'll have kind of 3 main objectives. So you can see here 6 or more of the same habitat icon in your reserve. You will be able to claim one of these. So a creature is considered in your in your reserve once you have played it into your tableau. Or you can also collect eggs around the board, and once you collect an egg, it will go onto a specific spot on your board to determine about how many you have collected, and that can be considered or used in order to count scoring. Now, there's an effect where once you use an egg, you'll have to flip it over, but I'm not going to go into super detail about that. But that is pretty much the overall premise, guys, is you are going to be putting these workers out to collect resources, to collect cards, using the resources to play these creatures into your tableau or into your reserve, and then using these creatures once they're in your reserve to complete these different objectives to gain these trophies. Sometimes you'll have opportunities to move along the track and score victory points throughout the game. And then, like I said, once all the trophies are gone, then pretty much that is going to trigger the end of the game. So let's go ahead and jump right in, guys, and kind of talk about my experience with Wondrous Creatures. I had an okay experience the very first time. I've only played this game once, right after we filmed that unboxing video. Me and Sierra got this to the table, so we have only played this one time. And I would say, like I said, our experience is so-so or okay. The biggest issue, I think, for us was just the overall length of the game. It took us about 4 hours to complete a playthrough of Wondrous Creatures the first time. And guys, it really only took us about 20 minutes to get the rules down and understand it. What took the longest is just the sheer amount of choices that you have available to you, and the analysis paralysis factor that is going to happen on your turn. But I will get to that in a sec. Let's talk about what I really enjoyed about the game here. The very first thing that I really enjoyed about Wondrous Creatures is obviously the artwork and the production of the game itself. I love these cute little, creatures, right? You have a whole bag of all of these different creatures like unicorns and, now I was gonna say velociraptor, like armadillos, a whole bunch of like owl, griffins and things like that. You have this whole bag of cute little creatures. I love this rider system, right? You have all of these different riders, and I'll bring this in closer. You got different riders that magnetize on one and you place him out, right? You got a whole bag of different riders. That's really cool. And each of these specific riders are going to have their own individual player power, okay? So that is really cool. I love that. The replayability here is fantastic. I also love the components themselves. I am glad I got the deluxe edition of the game with the metal trophies, with the upgraded components and eggs and things like that. I'm super glad I got that as well. I do like the base mechanic of the game. I do like that worker placement and the tableau building of gaining all of these different these creature cards. And you can see here's kind of an example of a creature card. And so that's kind of the type of creature it is. That's the habitat it comes from, right? Those are the resources you'll need to spend to play it, the victory points it's worth, and then each creature is going to have an ability. And what's kind of cool is there's a couple different types of abilities for creatures to have. You have like what is called a refresh ability. So there's a certain action you can take that whenever you take that action, you can gain this. So for example, this guy says when recharging, that's the action, it's called recharging, you gain 2 resources matching the habitat icon you collected the most of in your reserve, right? So every time you recharge, you can get these effects. So you have these type of creatures. You have instant type of creatures that the second you play them, you'll gain an effect. So this guy's gained 2 nets right here. And then I don't have any out. Let me see if I can find one very quickly. You will have, actually there's 4 types of creatures. So you will have what is a crystal creature. And this one will look something like this. So this would gain an energy charge, and you can spend those charges in order to do the effect of that monster. And actually more, there's 5, I believe. You have continuous effects, which you guys might have saw on here. So each time you gain a trophy, you get 2 victory points. And then the last one I was trying to look for is basically end game scoring. So you'll have some end game scoring creatures. Now, there are some abilities that duplicate themselves, but for the most part, there are a lot of unique different abilities in each of these creatures, and there is not one single creature that is the same. So there's like 80 something or 90 something cards in the game that are each going to have its own particular drawing and artwork and style. There is not one creature that duplicates itself. So I really enjoyed that as well. The player boards, I love the dual layer player boards. I love how everything slides in and fits together. I love this kind of progression mechanic that as you complete these achievements, you place your little pen out here on the achievement itself, and then you unlock extra bonuses as well. Your eggs up here, whenever you gain eggs, you would gain bonuses as well. I really enjoyed the dual layer player board, all the players, that kind of mechanic as well. And I really enjoyed the worker placement tableau building, right? It reminded me a lot of Wingspan. Reminded me a lot of Wingspan, you know, doing this worker placement, getting these different resources, collecting these creatures, playing the creatures out, building a tableau and an engine of these creatures to help me generate more resources and things like that. So I think from a production, artistic standpoint, base mechanic standpoint, super great. The game is also very easy to pick up. So there's not a whole lot of actions that you have available to you. It's either place a person, play a card, complete an achievement, or recharge once you have all 3 people on the map. So game is very easy to pick up. Setup is not too bad. Setup's very quick and easy. A lot of things that I really enjoyed, okay? Let's talk about the one thing I particularly did not like with this on my first playthrough that made it so long, and that is the analysis paralysis factor that you are going to have playing this game, especially your very first time. So there are literally so many things that you have to kind of hone in and try and look for, right? So in terms of placing this crew member, so when you place a crew member out on the board, and let me zoom in here so you guys can get a better picture. So when you place a crew member out on the board, he will take up 2 spaces. I kind of like that mechanic. That's pretty cool. And then you will have the option of every tile that is adjacent to where you placed your worker, you have a couple options. You can either gain that particular resource, so I could gain 3 fruits, or I can gain a creature that has the same habitat as that. So I could gain this creature right here because it is from this particular habitat right there, right? So, and you can also do any combination of both. So I could take 1 creature and 2 fruit, 1 fruit, 2 creatures, however you want to. Okay, so that is kind of that sacrificial choice in itself. You can also spend butterfly nets if you wanted to use these special actions in these tiles, or pick up eggs and things like that. So eggs are also be out on the board to collect as well. So that is kind of the first sacrifice that you're going to have to make, or decision really that you're going to have to make. Do I go for the resources or do I go for the cards? And of course, like I said, the main premise of the game is you are going to need to get these creatures out in order to fulfill these objectives. Now, you have 7 different objectives you guys are trying to fill. And so this is where that analysis paralysis comes in, because there's just so many different objectives to fulfill, right? Like crustaceans and birds and any combination of fish and insects, any combination of chameleons and dragons. And so when you can fulfill these conditions through either eggs or creatures, then you're making this decision constantly where it's like, okay, do I get the egg? Do I get a creature? Do I get resources? Because I need resources to play the creature, right? And then your action of recharging is once all of your people are out onto the board here and you collect all these people, your hand limit size is 5. Okay, so if you have more than 5, you're gonna have to discard. So it's this balance of like, okay, well, I need creatures, so I'm picking up creatures, and then I'm just gonna stack resources. But then guess what? I pulled all my guys out, so I gotta recharge them. So I'm gonna have to discard down to 5, but I don't wanna discard, or I need to get creatures out, but I don't have the resources to pay for the creatures. But then I'm also trying to get these objectives over here. So I think for me, and especially Sierra, on our very first playthrough, it was like there were so many different options of things that we were trying to do at one time. And look, because like I said, also, all of your creatures have abilities, and you have creatures with recharging abilities, you have creatures with instance abilities, creatures with continuous abilities, and different things like that. And so there was too many times during our first playthrough of the game where we were just like stuck in a lock of like, okay, what do I want to do? Like, do I want to go for one of these different achievements? Do I want to get creatures out? But I need resources to get the creatures out. And so that drew the game out a very long time. And like I said, it was about 4 hours. It was about 4 hours for our playthrough. And then you add in each hero has his own special mechanic that when you place him, something is going to happen as well. And then you have tiles that are going to come out that you'll be able to place in water slots to kind of fill the board up even more. You'll have a time track and things like that. But I think for me, like I said, it was a okay experience the very first time that I played Wondrous Creatures. I do like the base mechanic. I like the worker placement and the engine building. For my first playthrough, I just feel like there is way too many options and things that you have to try and focus on. Then that can lead to a lot of heavy analysis paralysis and really a lot of locking up. But I do enjoy the game. I love all the cute little meeples. I love the artwork, the engine building of the game. So they have not scared me off with my first playthrough. I'm definitely planning to get this to the table a lot more to really see, once I dive into the game more, am I going to be more locked up with that analysis paralysis and that decision of having to sacrifice what and where. All right, guys. Well, look, those were my first impressions of the board game Wondrous Creatures after we have played this one time. And again, guys, I do want to stress I have only played this game one time. By no means should you judge a game or review a game based off only playing it one single time. But I did want to get some content out for this game and share with you guys my initial experiences. I am excited to get this back to the table again. We have not tried that Gargantuan Beast expansion, so I'm curious to see if adding that in either adds value or detracts value to the game. Like, does it make it more complicated? Because that's one more thing that you are going to have to keep track of. But there's a lot of stuff that I really like about Wondrous Creatures. My worry and hesitation right now is just the sheer amount of options. I wish they limited those a little bit more, because the game can still be very strategic with a lot of that. So I'm curious, as I get this to the table more and more, is my opinion going to change of that? All right, guys. Well, look, go ahead and do me a favor. Drop in the comments below. What are your impressions and opinions of the board game Wondrous Creatures? Do you own it? Have you played it more than once? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Does it get better? Drop those down in the comments below and let me know. Smash that like button. Hit that notification bell if you have not already, guys. And as always, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe so we can keep bringing you some more awesome content. All right, guys, have a great one. Bye.